In this episode of the Rockets Chop Shop Pod, I'm joined by my man Madison Moore, and we talk draft. The Rockets beat the tiebreaker for the Spurs, so they can't get no worse than a 6th pick in the NBA draft coming up in a few months. Who should they pick? Who should they pick depending on where they land? Who would you pick at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? 6? Would you pick 6? Would you trade it? We talk about all this and more. Tap in. Enjoy. What up, Chop Shoppers? We got my man Madison Moore with me here. About to go through what y'all been asking for. All the lives y'all keep asking us to do. The draft. Well, the draft is here, and I got the best person that I know. And this dude is like, he's my kindred basketball spirit. I swear to God, we don't disagree on a lot. If we do, it's probably some real minute, and it's probably something to do with semantics. But Madison, bro, what's good with you?
Man, that much, dog. Appreciate you for having me on, man. I've been waiting to get on the chop shop, man. Chop it up with you.
Yes, sir, bro. And this will be, there's other things relating to the Rockets that I kind of want to chop it up with you, but we'll get to that in the future. But today, we found out when the coin flip happened on Monday that the Rockets are, no worse than the 6th pick. And we, beat the tiebreaker with San Antonio. So I wanted you as an expert in the draft, and that's really your main kind of your bread and butter is the draft, and you are an expert. We're going to go through the top 6 picks on your draft board, and we'll kind of bounce off of each other and see where we think their strengths lie, where their weaknesses lie. And I have a couple of disagreements with your ordering, but I'm not mad at your 6, so we'll get into it for that. First, before we even get started with that, what is your methodology like overall on grading prospects when you look at them?
Yeah, so I think it varies. It honestly, when you're dealing with the draft inside the top 10, I believe that upside should win out, right? So, but it's a delicate balance between upside and the safety of a pick. How scalable is a prospect as well? Like, what are his levels of outcomes? Does this guy has star upside, or the likely thing is that these guys won't be stars. So what does it look like if this prospect isn't a star? Do they have skill sets that fit in this league that are translatable and will translate to a high level starter if they don't hit the star mark, right? And so those are like some of the big things that I focus on, and I have my own kind of barometer of just from experience watching the game and being around the game so much, and then listening and taking in a lot of draft content to understand what guys actually look for and how to identify it. And so I've kind of come up with my own like philosophy out of that. But I'm very much an amateur, new to this, but I just love it, man. And I kind of feel like I got an eye for it. So
I think you've been really good about some of the kind of the maybe not late, but I've seen you hit on some mid-tier, late lottery prospect. Obviously, the one we both love to death is Jalen Williams in Oklahoma City. And I seen it in summer league. I was like, this is curtains. This guy's it. Because just like you, mine, like for like younger players, especially whether it's G League, OT, NCAA, a lot of people get caught up on stats with them. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a waste of time. Like you're really... these young guys, you really got to turn the film on and watch what they do. And like you said, I agree. I'm a scale up guy. If you can do a certain skill, even if it's at an amateur level with development, assuming NBA development, assuming, proper coaching, assuming growth in your body, your skills, does that scale up to be, and then mix that with natural God-given ability, and you start kind of cooking from there. And so that's my broad philosophy on looking at players, and I apply that across the board for all of them.
Yeah, man. It's honestly, the best prospects have a combination of physical tools and IQ. Like if you can hit the combination of physical tools and IQ, you're gonna make it. Yeah, you just are. I mean, you need the work ethic and that type of stuff, because I don't believe any rookie is ready to play in the NBA with grown men. And I like people should come into that understanding that, like, hey, this guy's gonna be bad at basketball. Like, he's gonna be bad at basketball. He's his first year, and the sooner you accept that, the better you'll be off when looking at your prospects and understanding what it looks like when they grow and become more consistent.
That's facts, big facts. Okay, so we're gonna get started with, obviously I'm gonna go 1 through 6. So number one, obviously the player that everybody, if you don't draft them number one, you're probably gonna get tarred and feathered and jailed in whatever city you're in. Is Victor Wembanyama. This is the 7'4", 7'5", whatever rumored his height is. A big man slash wing from France. Now I'm gonna read off some of his, just some broad stats for him. 21.4 right now in the Metropolitans. That on the Metropolitans team, 21.4 points, 9.9 rebounds, 2.3 assists. He's shooting from field goal 46.9%, from three 30.4%, 83% free throw shooter. You love that because that means the shooting, the form, the touch, everything is real. 3.1 blocks, averaging 32 minutes per game. So for me, Wembanyama, I'll let you kind of tee off on it, then we'll go back and forth. To me, is a no-brainer. Number one, generational talent. What is your outlook on him as a player?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've never seen a guy with these type of physical tools, fluidity, combination of skills. I mean, this guy has a chance to be a game changer on defense and on offense. I mean, there's very rare occasions when you come across a player who can be a superstar just from their defensive versatility. Just defensive versatility only, right? I mean, that's how I kind of felt about Dwight Howard when he was in the league. I mean, Dwight Howard was never really a good offensive player to me. He didn't really have good skill sets, but that's just how dominant of a defensive player that he was, that he could anchor a team and really change the dynamic of the game in a way that was kind of just beyond anything normal. And I think Wembanyama has a chance to be better, right? I think we all know the strengths. The length is ridiculous. I don't even know if there's another player that has an 8-foot wingspan. Like I don't, maybe Manute Bol. Like 8 foot is absolutely ridiculous. Just to put it into context, like Rudy Gobert is 7'6". For it to be 4 inches, like, you know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah, that's just absolutely ridiculous. He's going to be able to really fly around the court and do some things that like only Giannis Antetokounmpo can do, right? You know what I mean? He has the foot speed. The frame is really, really skinny, and I think he'll struggle on the boards early in fighting for position. But just from his height and high point balls, he'll be able to get 4 to 6 rebounds just off high point in his height. And probably offensively, he might be an issue too. But he's not going to be able to hold his spot early on. Strength will be an issue for him, and when he plays bigs like Embiid, who are very physically imposing, they're gonna have their way with him. They'll probably be in foul trouble. Honestly, he kind of still is a bit jumpy. He's not as disciplined as he should be defensively, but I think he's a smart player. He'll get there. It's just young guy stuff. Once he learns that he doesn't have to jump, just hold your arms up, you know what I mean? And don't bite on these things and just stay solid. He has the foot speed to move with pace. And once you allow him to be a roaming bigs, he's just going to change the game defensively that way. Offensively, I mean, he went to this team and they let him just grow his skill set and do whatever he wanted to do out there. So he's basically playing like an all-star game, like he's in an all-star game every game. And that's contributed to why he's so inefficient from three. I mean, the highlights are amazing and great, but I want to caution fans, like, bro, they're not going to let him do that in the NBA. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're not going to let him do that. And if he goes to a team that's actually trying to win right away, don't be surprised if they develop him in the way that Evan Mobley is being developed. Right? Yeah. That is the smart way. This is no more of that funny stuff. And so, I just would caution fans. Like, I understand he has all these skills, but it might be year 3 before they throwing it down and letting him do all of that stuff. And honestly, a lot of it is unnecessary. Like, bro, why are you taking 1 foot floater
over a 6'2" guard guarding you? You know what I mean?
You're gonna hurt yourself, bro. Like you're gonna hurt yourself. I think injury is a concern because I don't like the way he falls. He's really skinny. I think I'm scared about his ankles. You know what I mean? And he's doing all these step back moves. Like, bro, when have you ever seen Kevin Durant shoot a step back? Right. You know what I mean? There's no need. There's no need. You're so physically gifted. There's no need. You're unnecessarily making the shots harder on yourself. And then you're opening yourself up to more injury. But I think his team has done an amazing job of taking care of him. Like he does some crazy routine. He gets like 12 hours of sleep every day. But I
Yeah.
mean, I just would caution people. I mean, this guy plays 2 games a week. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's elite low managed. It's going to be, that workload is going to be something different, and you have to be careful with a guy at this size, right? And all that step back, that's
Yeah.
also, it's, first of all, it's unnecessary and not going to win basketball games. It's going to make you inefficient. And second, I mean, I think it opens him up to more injury. So I just would caution fans. Smart teams are not going to have him doing that stuff.
Yeah.
At least early on.
And you took, I mean, that's basically exactly my thoughts. And I'll take a more pessimistic approach to evaluating him. Everything you said is true, and everybody should be, that's the guy you want to get. I mean, once again, imagine like the pick and roll coverage of Rudy Gobert, the ability to step out on the perimeter like Giannis, the ability to, create his own shots, shoot from pretty much anywhere on the court. But when he gets to the NBA, I think he's going to struggle with where players playing with leverage. He's going to struggle not only against the Embiids of the world. I can see him struggle against guards that get under him because he does not play with a lot of leverage right now. He is very, very light. And the league he's playing in, the players, they're not the greatest athletes in the world. But I can see even a guy like Drew Holiday like really messing up his life if he was to switch out on him to play him. I think Victor's he might, like when he comes in, I think he's going to struggle like mightily, and there might even people throw out the B word on him to start because his expectations are so high. But the NBA is a grown man's league, and this is a kid that needs to adjust to playing grown man ball. Like you pointed out in that article that I think Windhorst and Gavoni did the whole detail on his life in France and how they switched leagues to, because he was kept on getting hurt in the other league in France because their frequency was more like the NBA as far as the games they played. They brought him to his team now. He plays the 2 games a week. He has a stretching routine that he stretches his big toe. He has a dietitian, a nutrition, a stretch coach, this coach, two agents, one in America, one in. So this dude's a team. He's a project, but I think it's going to be a tough transition for him early on in the NBA. Like I really do think that he's going to come out and struggle. But man, the upside is just crazy.
But when we get to number 2, we're going to talk about my favorite guy in the draft.
Real quick, for each one, just real quick, fit on the Rockets. Victor, where does he fit? If you put him on the Rockets, where is he aligning? What is, assuming we don't make any changes right now, what does that starting 5 look like?
Yeah, I think we have to seriously consider moving Sengun to the bench, and not so that Wemby can play the 5, but so that Jabari can play the 5. I still would like Wemby as my 4, as a roaming big. He's going to need some help with the physicality, but it's not even that he can't play with Sengun. It's that I don't know if Sengun, Wemby, and Jabari are a good fit to all play with each other.
Fact.
But I think it's just so much talent that I tried. It's kind of the similar thing that they're doing in Orlando. Just go out there with length and versatility, dog, and see what happens. I mean, you got smart enough guys. Jabari have another year under his belt. Just see what happens, man, and maybe zone up some. You can do some things with his elite versatility that you won't be able to do with anybody else. I mean, I think it would take a creative coach, but I think it's something that you definitely should try. So for me, I'll probably just start all 3 of them and let it work where it works. I would, be really worried if they have to guard a movement shooting 3, like Tyler Hero or something. Like I don't think Jabari is going to be able to fight across screens like that, and Wemby might be the best one to do it just because of his length. He can go under the screen and still contest. So, but I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, but shoot, you might just roll out a zone and just just go with it.
I mean, imagine if we actually did get Nick Nurse. I think he'd probably have an orgasm if he had the three-man front court. I think I agree with that. I would go with all 3 just to see, because I feel like there is a uniqueness about having that big of a front court with Jabari at the small forward position. Just a name, they would function differently. I think assuming Wemby would be like the 4 or the 5 and Sengun, they would be interchangeable. But I think just the name you can call Jabari the small forward, but defensively, I think we've talked about this on Rockets Watch. I would have Sengun be the point of attack, kind of drop big. Have Wemby play the cleanup crew.
Mm-hmm.
He's anything you killing anything moving, like anything comes in there is you. And then just rotate, Jaylen, if it's Kevin Porter, whoever's there, you got to haul ass to get over. And when you start your rotations, and I think that with the length, you can really do a lot of damage there. So yeah, good stuff there. So the next guy, this is a guy we both love, and I think honestly, if I was, man, if we didn't, I wouldn't be that mad if we didn't get Wemby. Let me just say that, like, bro, there's a world where I'm like, like.
I'm praying for two, bro. I understand.
Man.
I understand that Wemby is the best prospect, and I have to take him. But this is my draft crush. This is the guy I want.
So we obviously, y'all would know the number 2. I know some people been capping with that Brandon Miller talk. Don't bring that about me. I don't want to hear it. They be capping. But Scoot Henderson, I mean, what can I say? Like, I'm going to read off his stats, and they're not superficially impressive. So 16.5 points, 5.4 rebounds, 6.5 assists, shooting 42% from the field, from 3, 27%, free throw 76%, 3.5 turnovers. I know a lot of people get on him about those turnovers. He's played 19 games, averaging 30 minutes per game. Just off rip, for him, just before you even kind of, do your expert analysis on him, watching film on Scoot and just figuring out one thing I look for. One, we already know. I know you're going to touch on this. Pick and roll demon. Pick and roll demon gives me all the feels of Chris Paul. All of it. Mannerisms, navigation. Like, y'all haven't. And the mid-range is crazy. You get on to the passing. If you know how the quarterbacks have the quarterback tree and the real elite quarterbacks can make every throw in the tree, this dude can make every single pass in a pick and roll. And he manipulates the defense when he does it. Y'all don't understand, man. If turn off the stats, turn on the tape and watch this kid work. It's Chris Paul's like pick and roll navigation with like Russ or somebody's explosiveness.
Yes.
Mid-range god. He's transition demon. Like, man, defense upside, the wingspan is there, the body, he's built like a 6'2" Davion Mitchell with the length on the, like, to me, I don't know, bro. I don't know what people are watching, but what do you think about Scoot Henderson?
Man, best point guard prospect I've seen. Like, I think he's a different tier than John Wall, bro. Like, and John Wall was a ridiculous point guard prospect. Yep. I mean, but it's what you're talking about. I mean, we're talking Chris Paul-esque command of the offense in Derrick Rose's body. You know what I mean? Like,
facts.
And this guy has some of the most impressive stop-start I've ever seen in a prospect at his age. Like, the just manipulation of pace that allows him to get anywhere on the floor, get anything he wants. He gets any shot that he wants. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The manipulation of pace, and he's always in control. Like, I always feel he's never leaving his feet when passing. He doesn't need to. And he's only 6'2". You know what I mean? Yeah. He's continuously getting downhill, making plays for others. He can beat you offensively with scoring and passing. And he showed that in the game against Wemby. You know what I mean? Where the whole first half was just a display of his scoring package. And then in the fourth quarter, he dissected them with passing. Like, that level of prospect, bro, this dude can be special. A lot of big people have been talking about, 6'2" guards are a dime a dozen. This is not a dime a dozen guy. That body, the type of body, you said Davion Mitchell, but he's bigger. That dude is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He's like baby LeBron, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's like LeBron if he was 6'2".
I heard somebody said Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah,
good, like, yeah.
Right, Eric Bledsoe, but he also is like a much better like leaper. Right then, like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
explosive.
So
Yep.
so it
Yeah.
just build with that type of explosiveness, and he's always in control, which is good, which is really important for his archetype, because we've seen that archetype also
Yep.
deal with injuries. But because he plays with so much control, that will really help him in the injury front. And he did deal with a lot of injuries this year, but they were like freak injuries, bro. Like he broke his nose. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? And people want to talk about the shooting and whatnot. And they were like, "Oh, he shot 29%." That's not true. The G League breaks their stats up into blocks, and if you count the totality of the season, he was at like 32. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
was
Real quick, Tankathon projects him to be a 34% NBA shooter.
I promise you, he's going to be a better shooter than that, because he's
Yeah, I'm
already
just saying.
I mean, I think he's going to be. I think he has a very good chance to be a 40% 3-point shooter. He's a leader. When they talk about like him as a person, what like the G League Ignite raves about the type of person he is. He's going to come in day one and be a leader. You know what I mean? He has a certain maturity to his game and how he carries himself, and I just believe he's going to put in the work ethic, bro. I mean, I choose him over Cade. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is an elite. I think he's a Zion Williamson AD tier of prospect. Like, that's what I think about him. You know what I mean?
Do people have to also keep in mind that he's playing from the NBA 3-point line?
Right.
And when you're factoring, and I think that's why Tankathon, because guys do improve. Well, most of them do as they get older. A lot of the college guys are shooting from college threes. We saw Jabari struggle with the adjustment of playing further out and shooting further out in his first year. He didn't really get used to that till pretty much halfway through the season. And, Scoot is used to that. You know what I mean? He's used to that. He's in the mid-range, and to me, what you touched on, the intangibles, the leadership, I think, especially for the Houston Rockets, the floor general thing is a position we've been lacking for the past 2 seasons. With KPJ learning the role, and he's done a serviceable job for somebody that's trying to learn the role. But my philosophy on the point guard is like quarterback. Like, you can throw a Taysom Hill or one of these guys back there, but at the end of the day, man, you don't breed Peyton Manning. You feel me? Those dudes just come from, like, God just put it in them when they like, that's something that's God given. To me, it's innate, the feel. And to see that from a dude so young to be only 19 years old, and like you pointed out earlier, when you got a mixture of elite athleticism and then high IQ, that's almost a can't miss for as a generational player. At least somebody's going to be all NBA or an all-star level player, because you find me one of these top players that's dumb or has bad feel for the game, and I'll give you all y'all $5. You go find one of these all NBA Hall of Fame players that's not a savant in their position, whether it's defensively, playmaking, whatever it is, scoring, they're savants. And I think that to me is a prerequisite for these high level picks. And to me, honestly, even Jaylen, some of the reasons I kind of cap his ceiling and I don't go all crazy, because he has limitations on his basketball awareness and IQ. And I think he's learning, but if Jaylen had Cade's IQ with his athleticism, Jaylen would probably be damn near Michael Jordan. So, I definitely. So let me ask you the same thing for him. He's on the Rockets. We get number 2. Where does he fit on the team?
He's our starting point guard day one. He's running the ship. And watch out, everybody needs to move out the way. He's day one, the best prospect. And this is one of the things, man. If we get Scoot Henderson, I'm going to be so happy, because I really believe in Jaylen. I understand Jaylen is coming along a bit slower because of the situation he's in. Yeah, you know what I mean? And as well as, like you said, he's like some people said low IQ. He's
no. He has good feel. He has good feel.
That's what I'm saying. He has normal good for his age and position. It's normal and good IQ, and it's gonna grow to where it's gonna be above average, right? And enough to be a superstar. He's already learning how to make the correct reads. And one thing I love about Jaylen is I know that Jaylen is in the film room. I can tell that Jaylen is is identifying things from the film to get better at his game, and that's the type of stuff you need to do to improve your b-ball acumen. But Scoot's day one, he's starting that point guard, and he's running the offense, and we're running everything from him. Hopefully Jaylen takes a leap, and I think Scoot can be a Ja Morant level day one. Ja Morant rookie year, how good Ja Morant was his rookie year. I think that's within the outcomes for Scoot. Of course, he's a rookie and a young guy, so you never want to put that on him, or you never want to. There's always a chance that he needs his time, like all rookies do, right? And so if he's not day one that good, it's okay. That's just how the game goes. It's a tough game to be played. But I also just like to point out, we were talking about his body. I found a guy that has almost identical measurements and height and size, and it's Donovan Mitchell. Like, yeah. Donovan Mitchell is 6'2" with like a 6'10" wingspan. Like, you know what I mean? And we don't have any issues with his height at the NBA level for those guys. Who, that's what they like to say. Oh, his height, he's a smaller guard. It's not a small guard. He's not. He's
not. And we're seeing he probably has one of the best like playoff careers for a young guy. Damn near in NBA history. Like, he's coming in averaging 28 in the playoffs. And he's been in the playoffs every single year of his career. So just to see that archetype does elevate to a certain level, and I think the body and that makes up for height. We've seen it. Like, we saw, Russell Westbrook. He's like 6'3", 6'4". You tell him he can't get to the rim. Russell Westbrook gets to the rim on anybody. So it's the explosiveness, all of that. I think, I would not be mad if we got to number 2. In fact, I go back and forth. Like, do I want Wemby or him? I definitely think whoever gets him from day one, he's a floor raiser. Your team now has a piece you could build around. I think that's what the Rockets have really, really, really been searching for, like a guy that we know for a fact. Like, this is it. A guy like that makes you make moves a little prematurely than you would. I think the Rockets are still filling out stuff, but definitely Scoot. One pass, like I always say, the last time I did a pod with Dave, we were talking about point guards, and some of the issues with the Rockets and their point guard play is the cross court pass. The skip pass when the help comes to try to stop the roll on a pick and roll. Scoot, man,
he be whipping that thing both hands. Dude, Jabari, I've seen him move people with his eyes. Get out the way. Skip. Like,
it's so they catch it right in the breadbasket, man. Think about the impact on that on Jabari Smith Jr. No more struggles, Jabari. He's gonna get a healthy dose of wide open threes from that corner, and we're one of the worst corner shooting teams in the NBA. You're going to see percentages go up across the board just from day one. So honestly, I think a great coach in Scoot would probably make the most impact on the Rockets short and long term. All right, we're going to get to the number 3, and number 3 is Brandon Miller. So with Brandon, I think he's a good number 3. I like his game. The reason that I'm not going to argue him at 3, but at 2, I don't see the two-way ability I like from a wing his side to keep him at 3. I've heard the comparisons to Paul George. I think offensively those are good comparisons, but Paul George is definitely somebody that started as a hustle guy and a defender that developed his playmaking, his offensive skills over the years. So it's a little inverted, but I really value defense in my wings. If you're going to be a wing, you're going to be a star. You got to play both ways, because you're not going to be a point guard. So if you're a scorer, and we've talked about this. So right now, 18.8 points, 8.2 rebounds, which is really impressive. 2 assists, shooting 43 from the field, 38 from 3, 85% free throw. So he's a pure shooter. Now, one thing I did for the guys that actually play in the NCAA, I looked on Synergy to get their play type stats. Because like I said, those random like per game stats don't really tell you much. But to me, I like to look at profiles to see what are their top 3 like half court play types. So I can know what type of player, like big picture, what are they? Pick and roll ball handler, the most possessions, 134. He's below average in this, but I actually like that he's attempting to do this. That's really, really good for me, for a wing his size to be attempting to run pick and rolls, and that's like his top go-to play. And he did get better as the year went along in running pick and rolls. He's ranks in the 26th percentile, but I think that scales up in the NBA, and that's where that Paul George comes in. Spot up shooting, he's rated excellent, 89th percentile. That's a no brainer. Pure shooter there. In isolation, he's average. That's a part of his game. Earlier in the year, people were comparing him to Jabari as far as not being able to create, and he was able to show his back. Defensive play types, strengths, a spot up. He can guard the spot up with length, contest with length, good long wingspan. He's very good guarding the pick and roll and the ball handlers, fighting around the screen, using his length to kind of be that trail defender to contest. Where he does suffer is isolation defense. And I think it's a mixture of frame and just, to me, that's just not his game. Like, you're not going to just throw him on the best player and say, go lock him down. So overall, I think he's a great prospect. I think for us, I don't know. I think it might be, if we get him, I would be okay with it. He would address the shooting issue. He just feels redundant for the Rockets. But I wonder, what do you think about Brandon Miller as a prospect?
Man, I love him, man. I love Brandon Miller. I actually think Brandon Miller is the same tier of prospect as Jayson Tatum was coming out. Like, okay. I don't think they're the 1-for-1 type of players exactly. The thing about Brandon Miller is what I talked about, scalability. Right? He has all these tools and they're all scalable. You talk about his one-on-one defense. I think he's actually a pretty good one-on-one defender, and he has excellent hands. I mean, excellent. Mean, he's disruptive. He's disruptive at the point of when balls exchanged. He gets a lot of steals. He gets out and runs. Brandon Miller does so many good things that helps teams win. I'm talking rebounding. I mean, this guy's an excellent rebounder, and he's not strong. You know what I mean? He's not strong right now. Yeah. And so for him to be such a good rebounder with that strength level, which the strength is probably the ire of all his weaknesses when it comes to the finishing, when it comes to
defense,
It all just boils down to the strength, right? And what do we know? That all players get stronger. It's plenty of thin guys at Brandon Miller's size in this league defending at a high level. Jaden McDaniels, Kevin Durant, the list goes up. Brandon Ingram, right? So there's plenty of guys, and what do all these guys have in common? They struggled early in the league because they weren't strong enough. And so whoever drafts Brandon Miller has to understand that he's not going to be good for about 2-3 years. He's not going to be good, and it's just because he's not going to have the strength to hold up and get to his spot and finish the way he needs to. But once he begins to add that strength, he has everything else in his game that can facilitate him into being a star, right? But if he doesn't become a star, then you might be looking at a Jaden McDaniels or a Trey Murphy, and because he has the foot speed to guard, right? Once he gets the strength, he'll be able to hold up against one-on-one. He has the length, he has the instincts, and if you take the ball out of his hands, what else is he spending that energy on? You know what I mean? Yeah. That's when guys begin to find their niche in the league. And so that's one of the things I love about Brandon Miller, the scalability of outcomes. Even if he doesn't become a star, you get a high-level starter. You know what I mean? Because the shooting is elite. You know what I mean? I think the release is a bit low, but it's quick. You know what I mean? I think it's a bit flat, but that's an easy fix. You know what I mean? And it's so much touch on the jump shot. Just tremendous touch. Excellent spot up guy, and they run a lot of movement stuff for him. He has a lot of movement shooting, and so when you think about a guy, if he came to the Rockets, right, I would hate to go give him the ball day one and say, do what Jalen Green did. He's going to fail at that. He's not going to succeed at that. But what you can say is, hey, if you want to get on this floor, you play defense and you shoot open shots. We're going to run you off some pin downs, get you some shots. And then if you can succeed at that, we'll slowly scale your roll up. And he has to improve his handle, but the functionality is there, right? And I like the process by which he gets to his spots. He has a nice floater in the lane. He gets to good spots in the lane with his length. He should be able to finish. But a lot of times he just doesn't because of the physicality. He gets there, but those are good shots for a 6'9" wing. You know what I mean? He just has to have the finishing ability. Brandon Ingram went through the exact same thing. And I expect Brandon Miller to do to struggle in that way early. But when we talk about projection, it's not for next year or next 2 years. Down the line, He has all the tools you need to be a high level star wing in this league, and so that's why I really like Brandon Miller.
Yeah, and my thing, I just have like a thing with the top three. I think he's going to be a great player, and I think that if the Rockets get him, he addresses multiple issues that we have on the team. Size, shooting, obviously number one shooting, gaping thing, and he does allow you to be a lot more flexible with your lineups, especially for guys like Sengun. So if we're talking about players that would complement Alperen Sengun, for all the people that love Sengun out there, in the top five, I would say Brandon Miller is probably the best bet because you're talking about movement, dribble handoffs. It's the same, some of the things we see with Jaylen that Jaylen really thrives on. You can really do a lot of stuff with teams running some double, some drag screens in transition, going into some stagger screens and get both of those guys, even having Brandon set screens and pop out while Jaylen is going down. I mean, you can go crazy with that. So I really do think that he is. I would not be mad at it. I guess for me, my thing with the cutoff three is like I want the guy to be one of those guys. But I love the Trey Murphy comp. I love Trey Murphy,
and that's like a low end outcome for him.
And that's a low end.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
like so this is a good pick. Like, you know what I mean?
That put it in perspective for me.
Yeah.
That would be if we got I just love Trey Murphy. Dude's a baller. Now your next pick, this one kind of threw me off a little bit, bro. You walking on the wild side here. You have Houston's own Jarace Walker as your fourth overall pick. Jarace, 11.2 points per game, 6.8 rebounds. His stats mean nothing to me as far as like how low they are because he plays for U of H, and we know they're like the New England Patriots of college basketball. You're not going to be a 30-point per game scorer or some flashy player there. They just play good team ball. I think I would point out he is a 34% three-point shooter for a guy that played the big. Where this guy really, really shines is defensively. Watching the tape, I followed U of H a little bit, during the season, during the tourney. He is a special defensive talent. I really don't know in this generation of players who I can comp him to, because I just can't think of it. Because he's 6'8", he has like almost like 7 foot wingspan, 7'2" wingspan. He can move his feet like a wing on the perimeter. He's strong as an ox. As a kid, can guard in the post. Defensive from Synergy, his top ratings, he can guard the spot up. He's a very good spot up player. This is a big guarding spot ups. He is a great pick and roll man defender. Very good, 69th percentile for that, and he is 83rd percentile in isolation. This is amongst the entire NCAA. This is a big man. So, if the Rockets do get fourth. I don't know, man. This is a tough one for me because I really do love Jarace. He would address a lot of issues for the Rockets. I just don't know, but he's a win. Like, you can plug him in and he's going to help you win games just by his effort, rebounding, strength, IQ. This is a high IQ defensive player. He can run in transition. He can pass low key, finish at the basket. Will get better at shooting. He's not going to be like a dead eye, but you can't leave him in the corner. He might be like a PJ Tucker with that corner shot. So I love him as a prospect. I don't know if I would draft him at 4, maybe 5 or 6. But why did you put him at 4? What was your reasoning behind that?
Okay, so for me, I think there's just a severe tier drop off for me. I'm not a fan of the Thompson twins. Okay. So I think they're projects. I think they have some of the highest upsides in this draft, but I think they're just as volatile to bust. Okay. So when you balance that, and for me, I just went with a safer, safer, versatile guy that I think has some sneaky offensive upside. And when you think about we know about his defensive versatility, and he's really a monster as a roamer, as like off ball, playing the pass like monster, like crazy instincts, incredibly high IQ player. Okay, he's thinking the game. That's how you become a good off ball defender. By the way, you know what I mean. He has incredible hands. He can guard in space. He's the Swiss Army knife. And honestly, people throw out that Draymond Green comp a lot, but honestly, everything that Draymond Green is capable of doing, this guy's capable of doing and more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that includes as a facilitating hub. because that's how good of a passer he is. And so when we start to think about the defense, we know, all right, you have elite defensive upside. But what about the offense? So I believe that there's some offensive upside there as a facilitating hub, okay? As a guy you can run at a high post, short roll, right? And really, he could really build his game out of that, doing some very dynamic things. With that frame, he's going to be an excellent screener. He's going to be able to do a lot of the stuff we've seen Sengun do, right? Now, he doesn't have the offensive package as a Sengun, right? But I wouldn't count him out from that. I think he could get to Bam Adebayo level. He has a big frame. He should be able to take bigger guys off the bounce, right? And he has enough athleticism. He's a good athlete. I don't think he's elite by any means, but he's still a really good athlete, and he's really strong. Once he learns to finish strong at the rim like that, I think he might be fine. And he doesn't have much post-up game at all. He's more of a face-up offensive guy, but I think he has good enough footwork, good enough face-up game where you can start to kind of build on that later in his career. And he can almost get to, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me 6 years from now, he got to Paul Millsap level offensively, right? But it's just going to take a lot of work. It really is. But he has the flexibility to get there, okay? But if he doesn't, he's a good play finisher. He has a nice floater in the lane. He'll be a lob threat. He can catch lobs, and you can use him as a facilitating hub, and then you get an elite defender. Now, this isn't a superstar, but this is an all-star level Swiss Army knife type player that wins games and fits the modern NBA, right? Yeah. And if we look back at this draft 5 years from now, people might be talking about Jarace as the third best player in this draft or the fourth best player in this draft. You know what I mean? Like that's within his levels of outcome. And he's just much safer to me than the Thompson twins. I can see him getting to an all-star Swiss Army life player very easily than me seeing that that Amen Thompson gets a competent jump shot. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that just makes more sense to me. And that's why he's so high on my board. But it's really just a reflection of how far the other guys are down for me. Yeah. I think a lot of these guys get inefficient or don't have the upside needed to be picking this high.
And I feel like he's a player that Oklahoma City would draft.
They need him.
Like he fits not only like literally they need that type of body type, but all the stuff you described about IQ, I feel like that's their draft philosophy. If you had a poster child for OKC nowadays, you're talking about a guy that could pass, play defense, play multiple positions, can guard 1 through 5. These are, to me, honestly, for the Rockets, this is why I'm not too mad at it. We need to start getting guys like that in the building too, because we've taken a lot of these high upside, the Amen Thompson's type players. And I would say Jalen's lesser stands. I would say Jabari has good IQ, but his feel for the game in real time isn't there where it needs to be right now. But OKC is comfortable taking a Giddey, taking a Jalen Williams, these type of players that the measurables are there. They're basketball players, and I feel like he fits in that category. Yeah, I would love him. If we traded back and he was available a couple spots down, if we did a deal to maybe get some things out of whoever wants to trade up to a spot we're not comfortable with, would definitely love to take him there. And go Cougs for him. And I hope that he goes to, if he comes here, that'd be a great story. Now the next, these two, I'm gonna do them in tandem. So we got the Thompson twins. You have Ausar Thompson at 5th, and his brother Amen at 6th. I'm confused, bro. I'm like NBA focused, right? I dabble I dabble in college, but I really don't be watching OTE. The competition to me is low grade.
It's bad, bro.
It's bad, and even the highlights, I'm like what am I watching, bro? So it's really hard to gauge them. To me, what is the infatuation with Amen over Ausar? Like so one of them shoots better. Mm-hmm. They're both incredible athletes. Amen is a slightly more explosive athlete. Amen Thompson is probably a gifted passer, but Ausar and him averaging the same amount of assists pretty much. He can make passes just in a different way, but he could shoot. He could defend pretty much the same way. I don't get it. Like, could you explain to me why
Yeah,
people are so high on Amen Thompson
right.
over his brother? Because I feel like if we're scaling up to the NBA, I mean, if they're just apples to apples, give me the guy that can actually shoot a jump shot.
I think it's because he's a point guard. Number one is because he's a point guard. Positional versatility. He's a ball handler. He's a guy who's going to control the pace and have the ball in his hand more often. But that's not the only reason. It's also because people just believe he's so much higher of a tier of an athlete with his quick twitch first step, right? And for me, I think the biggest difference is not really the first step, but the way he sees angles, the way he is deceptive in his drives. He sets guys up. So whether it's a euro, whether it's a misdirection crossover, he is throwing you off so he can get around you and get to the basket. I think that is the biggest difference about him is he has a lot of misdirection in his game that I think will help him at the next level. Now he does it too much and he's often moving too fast to like harness it, but it's there, right? He's often moving too fast. And Ausar is the opposite. Ausar says, I'm bigger, stronger, and more athletic than you. I'm not setting you up. I'm going to finish strong through you. Okay. And I think he does it okay, but it still isn't that great at that competition. I think they're both going to struggle. I think they're projects. I think OT was not a good place for them to go if they wanted to get ready for the NBA, honestly. But I could be completely wrong, dog. But for me, when I did see them play against professional teams, I was not impressed. The way that league is set up, I don't even know how good they are in the half court. People are trying to tell me, like, one of the things I hate about a man, especially Ausar does it too, but a man always jumps when he's passing. It's unnecessary. Yeah. It really is. And people are like, oh, they're trying to tell me that jumping when passing is not. It's okay. You see different angles. It's like, no, if you jump because you needed to find an angle, that's different than you jumping and passing. You know what I mean? And It's just like, it's one thing is a habit. And then another thing is, you know what I mean? You're doing with purpose. You know what I mean? Like, people don't jump to make.
Real quick, when I see guards that jump when they have to pass, it tells me that they had no forethought on that drive. Like what we were talking about with Scoot, as far as manipulating the elite like floor readers, they know what the keys they're reading, and they will make a head fake, a step, a look, a dribble to manipulate, even if it's faking, to make that key even commit by 2 steps, just to be able to open up something that they see. So it's happening in real time, but they know what they're processing, so it's very deliberate when they're going downhill. Or when I see and one of the, I was thinking he plays almost like, I'm talking about Amen Thompson, he plays like Russell Westbrook. Not in I'm a big Russ fan. And I think Russ gets a bad rep as far he is a gifted passer and a pretty decent point guard as far as setting his teammates up. But passing and setting up are different. Like, I think what I see with Amen especially is that he relies on his elite athleticism, rim pressure to generate open looks for his teammates, and he can get the ball there. Like, he can make every pass just as well, but it's predicated on the rim pressure rather than all of the above. And I feel like there's levels, like, not to bring Scoot back. I know people are going to be like, we're riding Scoot over here. He has that too. He has a rim pressure, but then he also knows the play, knows how to drag out the screen a little bit, just to, like, it's so many nuances to like generating passes where you have non-athletes like Chris Paul that can be one of the assist leaders in NBA history, John Stockton's of the world, the real elite point guards. You don't need rim pressure. It's a benefit, but to be an elite point guard, you don't need rim pressure. And I'm fearful of that because we're watching the playoffs right now. If you can't shoot, bro, it's going to be hard for your team. Like, they'll just get in the paint, play the passing lane. They know what you want to do. You're going to crash. We're going to read where you want to go with the ball. These defenses that are smart, they know exactly what you're trying to do. And just jump the passing lanes. You're going to have 5 turnovers, 0 for whatever. So it does scare me that a lot of people, but I do love their upside.
Yeah,
As far as the difference between the two brothers, um, I've heard different people give different takes on it. With the Ausars, his shooting, is it something that you see actually developing over time? Because I feel like a man,
that's why.
he's going to be a bad shooter for the rest of his career. But
That's why he's
what,
5. That's why he's
okay,
5. Because I think his jump shot, I think he puts so much work in his jump shot and his mechanics. You can watch a game from the summer and watch it like his final game, and you can see the difference in the smoothness and fluidity of his jump shot. It actually has some touch now. You know what I mean? Like he's put in the work on that jump shot. You can tell he still can't shoot. He's still
right,
not a great shooter. Okay, but I think you have shown enough that you've added some touch to it. You've had some mechanical tweaks. You're shooting from the NBA 3-point line, even though no one's guarding you, because they're not even guarding them. They're so afraid of them in the paint. It's actually frustrating because they're scared of them. The people that play them. But his jumper, I think, has a chance to get to 35%. You know what I'm saying? Get to 35, 36%. I think he can add some of that deception, although we don't know it's there. But I just also like that he plays slower. He plays slower. And I think guys who play slower in the NBA are more well off. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think Amin is speed. You know what I mean? But I think Amin at least plays with more deception. And so it's kind of a give and take. It's honestly like it's weird. You know what I mean? But Amin, it's the touch. Like we can fix the mechanics. We can fix
Yeah,
all the stuff. That touch is rock hard, man. I can't.
yeah,
I can't. I don't believe he'll shoot it. Like I don't.
yeah,
I don't believe he'll shoot it. And the only reason he's here is because if he does shoot it, I would look ridiculous not having him. You know what I mean? Like because
right.
if he becomes a competent shooter, then I think he'll get there. And they have all the talent in the world to do everything else. But honestly, like I don't think their handle's very good. I think they're going to struggle with their handles. I think they're going to struggle with ball pressure. I think they're going to struggle with everything, bro. Honestly,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it's a symptom of like the OTE thing. And honestly, they would guys that you might want to put them in the G League to get a feel for a little bit, because like I don't think people are understanding the level of competition in the NBA compared to any other league in the world. It makes these guys, whether it's the best rookie, they come into the NBA and a lot of them look like trash. It's like, and they'll be in college, the man. It's a few guys. If the guys that make that transition easily, they're going to be Hall of Famers off rip. Like they just come in, they're playing in a man's game and they fit in. I think that, man, it's almost 2 or 3 levels up of what they're used to playing in an OTE. And I'm almost worried that, whoever drafts them is, I mean, I think, like you said, highest, they have a lot of upside. I'm talking about defense, the
Yeah,
passing, if they get a thing of a jumper, but man, the bottom end of that is, I mean, even like I'm going to ask you for the Rockets fit. I don't see where they fit on the Rockets. I know people think, yeah, we need a point guard. We need a point guard. Amen Thompson, if he gets to the Rockets, will need the ball in his hands to be effective, unless we want him cutting. And I mean, I don't even know what that really means.
Ausar
Just
is the
have him
cutter.
cutting all this. Right. So where do I know there's people that love Amen Thompson in the fan base. If we were to draft him, where would he, what construction would you have to put around him to make him work?
I think it'd be the KPJ experiment all over again. I think it probably would be the Rockets fans' worst nightmare. It would be KPJ all over again. And you draft a guy that high with that much talent, you have to put him on the floor. You know what I mean? You have to see what he had. You know what I mean? And don't think you just pray that I'm wrong. Like that's the only thing.
Yeah.
But you got to let him play the point guard because he has the skills to do it. Like we said, that those skip passes, I mean, he can make them. You know what I mean? I think he's a creative passer, right? I think he has deception with his passing sometimes. You know what I mean? Not in a way where he really is manipulating defenders, but it's some stuff there where I think in the long run, he could be very, very special player. But honestly, I think he's cut from the same cloth as Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook. And if those are stars in this league. You know what I mean? Those are stars in this league.
Yeah.
But I think when it's all said and done and you get to the playoffs, these are not the type of stars that win at the highest level.
They have a lot of limitations. But yeah, I mean, so those are your top 6. So with the 20th pick is also where we landed from the Clippers pick. Briefly, where if we were to draft, and I think we talked about this off air, the Rockets probably trade that pick or do something with it because they're trying to win, and at that point you're adding players that you can get a win now player from there. But I think if they can get a player that's already in the NBA, they'll try to do that. But what are some prospects that you can see that may, if we get lucky, fall to the 20th spot that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, the luckiest would be Lively. I mean, Lively, I doubt falls that far. Maybe if we were at 18, we'd have a chance. 16, we'd have a chance. But the Derrick Lively is the only prospect in this draft of that archetype with that type of skill set, the Mark Williams type, wingspan and body, right? And because of that, any team that is looking for that type of prospect within the first 20 picks, he's going to be the first one off the board, right? And so that's why I think it's a low shot for us getting him. And I mean, I think he did absolutely nothing offensively for Duke, but that I think was a part of the system as well. Him having a slow start coming off injury, but he has absolute special defensive upside. And I think the Rockets need that type of versatility. We've talked about, in spaces and on Twitter about having different types of bigs so you can play different types of ways, right? And match up for different teams. I think Lively is one of the center position, lob threat, defensive anchor, drop, and can play in space. I think he has special defensive upside. Like he can be a special defender. So that would be like the golden thing that I would really want. I mean, I think Maxwell Lewis has a chance of falling. I mean, this is a 6'7" guy with some real offensive upside. Had a really good start to the year, and then by halfway throughout the year, his efficiency fell off. He wasn't a good defender, but I'm not too worried about his defense per se, because if he's not a star, if you take the ball out of his hands and say, hey, in order to get on the floor, you have to defend. Those guys usually defend, right? You know what I mean? Like Jay Crowder from Marquette was a scorer. I mean, Marcus Smart was an absolute monster scorer. But that's what I'm saying. Like he was one of the best scorers in college. That's why he had several.
Real quick, people sleep. I think people forget that who Marcus Smart was at Oklahoma State, man.
Right,
and he was a goon. He was a goon.
But that's what I'm saying though. When you take the ball out of these guys' hands and they have to make their living as a role player, you know what I'm saying? Their priorities change, and then it's about, do you have the ability? You know what I mean? And I think Maxwell Lewis has the ability. He has the length, the foot speed to be a defensive wing, and he has the shooting touch to shoot, and he has some upside to be more than that. So I like, I think that'd be a good wing. I mean, it's getting jumbled up at that position, but hey, add a guy like that there. G.G. Jackson might fall out there. Another project guy, but absolutely sky high upside. You know what I mean? I think I would take a chance on him earlier. I think he's 14 on my board. But I think it's some good players that could fall 220. One sneaky guy that I like, and I was talking about him today on Twitter. Got to Coop was mad. He didn't like it. But yeah, me and Coop, man, Coop. Y'all go listen to the Upside Swing, because Coop and his boys, they be dissecting something crazy over there, dog. It's a lot of stuff I don't agree, but you can't deny them boys. Them boys be watching.
Coop is a contributor for us, and I think last year he had Jabari like 11th or something. I don't know. He had
boys be crazy.
Tari in the top 3, and he's a mad scientist, man. Hey, I'll give my boy. He whatever, like, he has a methodology, and I respect it.
Yeah. Yes. But I respect it. I respect it so much because you can tell how much effort he's put into watching those games, bro. Like they gonna tell you biomechanically every little detail. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, man, I think you're kind of overthinking it sometimes. But hey, I respect it. But yeah, so he was kind of mad at me. But Trace Jackson Davis, he's a guy that's probably going to go in the second round or late first, right? So it'd be a reach to take him at 20. But I think he doesn't fail. I think this is a guy. He's 6'9". Have you watched Trace yet?
Just some highlights.
Yeah,
just some highlights.
So
yeah.
Trace is high IQ, excellent passer, can be a facilitating hub, NBA ready body, average 3 blocks a game. 3 blocks a game, can play in space, can defend in space. He's a little undersized at 6'9", but he has a 7'2" wingspan. So that the wingspan counts, and he's proven that he's a good rim protector. Okay? Excellent athlete. Above the rim finisher, like true legit lob threat. Okay? Like, you know, he's like a mix of the Jalen Williams with the hair from Arkansas. He's like a mix of that.
Okay, Jay Will.
Yeah, Jay Will. He's like a mix of Jay Will and Dwight Powell. Okay, so like he doesn't shoot at all. He can't shoot at all. He doesn't shoot at all. He's a center. Okay, but I'm talking hustle play, defense, but smart, IQ, strong, guards with position and athleticism. You know what I mean? And those type of guys don't fail. You know what I mean? They don't fail. And he has a real post game package, like a real post game package. And he can face you up too and take you off the dribble. I mean, this guy does a lot. I mean, he has some really, really excellent defensive plays against the Keegan's brother. What's Keegan's brother's name? Keegan Murray's brother. Chris. Chris
Murray. Yeah.
Yes, he has some excellent defensive plays against Chris Murray, who is going to be another top 20 pick within that range.
Looking at him right now, Synergy has him rated as excellent in isolation. He's in 90th percentile in isolation defense. This is talking about Trace.
Yeah, bro.
That's nice.
I'm talking defensive Swiss Army knife. He could use some work on his defense in the post, but he's strong. He's older though. He's like 23, but he's going to come. We need more. We need more of those guys. I know one thing. A lot of people are mad at older rookies. I don't like. I'm not. To me, like especially in the later lottery, and if a guy's 22, I don't care. He can still have a 10-year career, 15-year career. I'm looking at Austin Reeves right now on the Lakers. I love Austin Reeves. He's 22, 23 years old. Do you think the Lakers care that he's not 19? This dude might help them, get to a finals. And that's what I'm talking about. In the Rockets, for where the Rockets are in their phase, they're trying to win, okay? So you want to bring a guy in, if you're going to draft at 20, that can help you win. And he's older. Yeah. He's going to be more mature. He has an NBA-ready body, and he's high IQ, which means those high IQ guys, the game isn't too fast for them. They catch up. They process faster. You know what I mean? And he's an excellent passer. The same stuff you're going to do with Sengun, he's going to be able to do. He's going to be able to do those things at a high level. You know what I mean? Like that guy, he out of the mid-post passing, he can be a facilitating hub. And then he's an excellent defender. He's a legitimate rim protector. He just is. You know what I mean? 3 blocks a game is kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like to average 3 blocks a game. And he's been doing it like this at this high of a level for several years. He's been an NBA prospect for several years. So he just kept staying. So I think he's gonna return higher than top 20 value, but from a value point, that's what Coop was talking about. From a value point, that may be not the best option to do. But if I'm the Rockets and I'm selecting at 20 and I want a guy I know I can trust that's gonna go out there and produce, and I think he has some upside, bro. I don't believe guys are finished products at 23.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I think he has some real high upside to be more than that because he has some real offensive chops. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't count him out for developing jump shots. Guys add new things to their games all the time. I just wouldn't project it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So those are some of my guys because I know we need a center that I think we should look at. For point guard, say we don't get Scoot, we need to add another point guard. I would look at Pods. Brandon Podziemski, he's more of a combo, but in this league, combos can play point guard. He's 6'5". I worry about his wingspan, and he plays kind of slow and in control. But man, he's one of the best passers in this draft, hands down. And I'm talking creative passer. Like, he's one of those creative passers, can make every pass in the book, including the skip. And he's an excellent shooter with excellent touch on the jump shot. He's a smart player. He's going to be one of the smartest guys on the court. And because he's so smart, he'll be okay team defense wise. But it's just some things that I think Pods is not going to be able to do defensively just because the tools aren't there. But if he is able to play point guard, you can hide him. You can hide him in certain situations and just make sure he's there. But I worry about his wingspan. So I like Pods. And I don't think this guy will be here. He's number 9 on my board. But Jalen Hood-Schifino, one of my favorite players in the draft. He played with Trace Jackson-Davis. They were a dynamic duo. And I think that guy has some real star upside, and that's why he's number 9 on my board, ahead of Anthony Black, Case and Wallace. You know what I mean? I think to me, he commands so much control of the pace of the game. He has to work on his turnovers. He has to work on that jump shot, but I believe he'll shoot it in the long run. He's had some really hot games where he's just going off from 3, and he will kill you in the pick and roll. He knows every read out of the pick and roll, and that's an NBA translatable skill, and he's an excellent point of attack defender. What else do you want from a point guard? Like, he has a future as a starting high-level point guard, and I think he has all-star upside. So yeah.
And those are all great picks. Some of them I'm more familiar with. What we're gonna do, bro, we're gonna throughout the summer, obviously we'll have you back. Different, it's gonna fluctuate as far who's hot, who's not. Our fans really, they've been bugging me in space about draft, and I know when I'm not the man. Like, I'm not gonna get on here and start talking about these dudes and lying to y'all. So I'm glad my man Madison was able to come on. The next pod, we're gonna do a Rockets one, maybe next week, bro. I'm gonna hit you up.
For sure.
I want us to look at our team now and talk about just how those guys are developing and what we see from each of those players. So, bro, where can the people find you at, Madison?
Yeah, man, y'all can find me at Madman Leaks on Twitter. Come interact with me, man. And I'm also a weekly co-host with Jackson at LOR, so you can come listen to me weekly. I'll be on there all the time. So, come interact with me, man. I love to talk Rockets and draft.
Yeah.
Oh, and
yes,
also,
sir.
But I'm just teaming up with Evan Towson on Twitter. We're doing a Rockets Spurs collaborative draft talk this Friday. I believe it's going to be at 6:30. Times may change, right? But a couple of the Rockets people are going to be on there. Rockets draft people, and we're gonna talk and have a great conversation about the draft. So if you're thirsty about draft information, please come join us. It should be a great discussion with Evan Townsend, who's great.
What platform? What platform?
Oh, it's Spaces. It's Twitter Spaces.
Twitter Spaces.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll post that on the channel's page on the post, and yeah, this will drop tomorrow. Tomorrow. So cool. Yeah, man. So appreciate you, brother, man. It was fun talking to you. We're gonna get you back in for the Rockets, break down some of these players and what we see from them. The Rockets are in a good position. We got phase 2 coming up, so we'll see how it goes, man. But shout out to my boy Madison for coming through. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you for having me, man.